morning show here on Arise News. Well, joining us to discuss the security situation in Nigeria, especially the latest security threat in the FCT, Abuja, is public affairs analyst Nelson EKUJUMI. Thank you for joining us, Nelson. We really appreciate your time this morning. If we were to start with the news of this latest attack, this kidnapping and subsequent ransom requests from these people in the FCT, it does appear as though distance can't be used to justify the public perhaps not taking the security situation in Nigeria's north as seriously, because you'd think that perhaps with people living in the south, because of the geographical distance, they may not perceive the threat that these criminals and terrorists bring to Nigeria as something as serious because they are so far away. But to hear that there are, in fact, kidnappings happening in Abuja, very close to Abuja, or within the FCT, it does make it a lot harder to ignore, don't you think?
Well, and good morning, to our viewers. Thank you for having me. Watching that video of the incident in Abuja was very horrifying and traumatizing for me as a citizen, as well as a concerned Nigerian. But be that as it may, I think it's an indisputable fact that the issue of insecurity has become a matter of national discourse. And we must get one fact very clear. The kidnapping that happened in this settlement in Abuja that, you have just shown us the video, is a replica of what happens all over the Federation. It is nothing new because you recognize that we, even here in the Southwest, particularly here in Lagos, we used to have such incidences, on a regular basis. But what did the state government do? The state government set up a Lagos State Security Trust Fund. And in setting up that security trust fund, the state government also established, a security agency called the Rapid Response Squad. You recollect that there was a time past in this same Lagos where we all live, where robbers will invade a community or will invade a bank and they will be in operation for 2, 3, 4 hours. It is only when they have left that the police will now arrive at the scene of the crime. But with the huge investment by the state government, with the support of the corporate, industry, the state government has been able to up its ante with regards to security arrangement. And for me, I think that is what is needed in other parts of the country. For me, I want to ask a question. This incident has happened in a settlement that I believe is within a local government council jurisdiction. And you want to ask, what is the role of the local government chairman in that community? Because as far as I know, just like the president, the state governor, as well as the local government, the primary responsibility of every government at these tiers that I've mentioned is for the security of lives and property of the citizenry. So you want to ask, what is the investment of the state government? What is the investment of the local government? How are they involved in securing their communities? So these are the basic questions we should be asking ourselves. It's unfortunate that what has happened, or what you have just shown us from Abuja, is a reflection of the incapacity of the Nigerian police, which we have neglected over the years. A lot of times I listen to people call for the resignation of the service chiefs, and I ask, are the service chiefs responsible for internal security? The answer is no. The good thing, as bad as I feel about the video you have just shown, I'm only happy that agents of destabilization have not seen this as an opportunity to incite using ethnicity and religion. Because what has just happened is a form of criminality, where people, when they invade a community, because they know that the people are so economically down, they want to kidnap so that family members, friends, and relations will gather money and secure their release. This issue of kidnapping, this criminality of kidnapping, started in the Niger Delta region, where criminals masquerading as militants, masquerading as freedom fighters, were kidnapping foreign oil workers and demanding ransom, and they were getting it. And as at then, the government of the day encouraged it because they didn't launch a total onslaught against these criminals. And that is why people have seen it as a way of life. You recollect that until the police, busted the notorious kidnapping kingpin called Evans, who has been sentenced to death. You know, we have a lot of issues of kidnapping in all over the country, especially the fact that the people are so fearful that when kidnapping occurs, there's this lack of trust that they don't avail security agencies of their plight. I've been privileged to get information on a number of occasions where people have been kidnapped, and the family members, rather than report to the security agencies because of the lack of trust, because of fear, because of ignorance, will resort to sourcing for funds to pay this kidnappers ransom. And that has fueled, that has all this terrible crime against humanity that some people have taken as a means of livelihood. So for me, I think it now behoves on the Nigerian states to look at our security architecture. What is the role of the local government in policing or providing security in our local environment? Should the security of lives and property be the responsibility of only the federal and the state government alone? Doesn't the local government collect allocation? Are they not entrusted with certain responsibilities under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? These criminals that we are talking about, if the local government has been empowered and the local government is functioning well, the local government is closest to the people. They will get this information and they will interface with the security agencies. Again, we need to ask ourselves, how have we equipped the security apparatus of the state? A situation whereby criminals invade an environment and 2, 3 hours, 4 hours before the security agencies, respond. I don't think that is, complimentary enough to us as a people. So we have a lot of work to do with regards to revamping and restructuring our security architecture. All this wailing about, remove the service chiefs, I think it's all an attempt, to distract from the issues on ground. It's an attempt to politicize a security matter that affects all, regardless of where you come from, whichever party you belong to, or whichever religion you practice. So for me, I think we should look at our local security architecture. What role is the local government all over the federation playing with regards to the security of lives and property? What role are the states? What is the investment that we have made? How have we ensured that we put in place necessary security measures, such as providing jobs for our teaming unemployed youths? Those are the basic questions we need to ask ourselves, and stop and admonish those who are hell-bent that this country will not know peace because their economic and political interest has been truncated, that the only way they can do business is if Nigeria go up in flames. But as bad as the video you showed me, the only joy I derived from it was that people are not coming up to say, they took only Christians. They took only people of certain ethnic stock. No, these are criminals. They came to rob, and because they know it has become a regular occurrence that when criminals come to rob these days, because they realize that they can't get money from you, they can't cut away your property, all they do is to kidnap a family member and inform the family members that, look, we need X, Y amount of money before we can secure the release of your family member. And that is what has just played out in the video you showed us.
Oh, Mr. Nelson, you're absolutely right. Looking at the statistics on the report from Nigeria Mourns, correct? It appears that, banditry is the biggest issue, not even Boko Haram. If we look at Kaduna alone, they have 435 people that have been killed so far. In Katsina, there are about 343 people that have been killed so far. We don't have much time on this segment, but when we come back, I'd like to ask you why you think there's this rising case of banditry in Nigeria, besides the fact that, the government has said that they have made large strides in trying to prevent banditry, from, the Niger Delta Amnesty Program and all of that. We'll take a short break now, but do stay with us. When we come back, we'll discuss more on insecurity in Nigeria. Welcome back to the morning show. We're still joined by Nelson EKUJUMI, Public Affairs and Security Analyst. Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Nelson. Before we went on the break, we talked about, the president's, the government's win. The president in his address last week, retweet help for cabinet members, admitted that his government needed to do more to address security challenges across the country. He talked about using innovative approaches such as Operation Safe Corridor, which, is to de-radicalize, rehabilitate, and reintegrate willingly surrendered Boko Haram members into the larger society, which is, a highly debated issue across Nigeria. Do you think this will help solve the problem?
Well, thank you very much. The phases of the insecurity we have saddled with in the country varies from one environment to the other. The security breach that they are battling with, or grappling with in the northeast is different from the one they are grappling with in the south, or in the southeast, or in the southwest. So it is the responsibility of government at all levels across the federation to rise up to the occasion with regards, to providing measures that will curtail the insecurity that has become the lot of our people every now and then. I don't think it is the responsibility of only Mr. President, because where I live in Lagos, I live in Agege. Mr. President does not live in Agege. It is the responsibility of the government within the states that my local government is located in, as well as my local government council authority, to also up the ante with regards to security, challenges. So I don't think people should believe that because we have a president, then every issue in the country begins and ends on his table. Government at all levels have constitutional responsibility. Likewise, the citizens also have their own, civic responsibility to perform. For me, I think the responsibility now lies in what is the intervention of the state governments as well as the local government with regards to security. How are they ensuring that the security in their state, in their local government, is optimal? That the youths in the environment are gainfully employed, that they are providing means of livelihood for thousands of vulnerable citizens who reside in these various local governments, as well as ensuring that the security apparatus are adequately equipped. You go to a police station, they have maybe 1 or 2 vehicles. You look at the personnel there. How are they remunerated? What are the machinery that they are working with? We just watch where a victim recounted how he told the policeman that, look, we have to go after these criminals. And, the policemen were foot dragging. And the guy was very smart enough. And, people around him had to caution him that, no, don't go with them since they have expressed reluctance, in going after these criminals. That tells you if the security apparatus had been adequately equipped, immediately the incident happened and they were informed, or immediately it happened, they would have, responded appropriately. But we have situations whereby 3-4 hours. It is not only, this is not only exclusive to the Federal Capital Territory just because of the alarm raised by some organizations. This happens all over the country, where people realize that the only business that thrives these days is criminality. And it is because we have all failed in our collective responsibility, where crime occurs and people turn the blind eye and say, oh, because it doesn't affect me, it's none of my business. Just like the issue of COVID-19 that we are talking about. People are still doubting if COVID-19 truly exists, just because a family member has not suffered the fatality of it, or has not become a dead person because of this infection. So that is the responsibility. That is the lot of us as the people that when something does not affect us, we pretend as if it is none of our business. That is why even governments, I've also seen it in that light, that knowing fully well that the citizen will not ask me questions with regards to my responsibility, but rather, we'll be playing the blame game that, oh, there's a president in Abuja, oh, there's a governor in Alausa. The local government where I reside collects allocation. They have a responsibility. They collect shop permit. They collect rates and levies. So what is their responsibility with regards to that citizen responsibility that I, as a person, has done with regards to fulfilling my own financial obligations?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I accept that what you've said in terms of there being a division of labor when it comes to fighting insecurity, that we all have a responsibility to do that. Mm. And if we're talking about governance, while we can appreciate that the central government has a job to do, that also breaks down and concentrates at the state level and then at the local government level. I hear what you've said, but I want to bring that conversation or raise it up higher towards the military. According to Amnesty International, the Nigerian military has been responsible for crimes under international law. Those crimes including rape, torture, and other serious human rights violations across Nigeria. In August 2017, then acting President Yemi Osinbajo said that he was going to, and he did in fact set up the Presidential Investigative Panel to review compliance of the Armed Forces of human rights obligations and rules of engagement, a very long investigative panel. To this date, the report has not been released to the public. And with that in mind, how much trust can we have in the Nigerian military if the central government can't cough up enough answers to the people?
Well, I think as citizens, we have that duty to have trust in our military, as well as to have trust in our government and engage the government in areas where we are not clear or areas where we need, we need answers. It is our responsibility to demand, those actions from our government, because the government exists for us and not, are not us existing for them. So where government has set up a panel, we can, start an advocacy around the issue and ensure that that issue that the panel has been raised about, because the issue of the military engagement, in any type of assignment, there are rules governing their conduct. And where they are found to have violated those rules, there are procedures for bringing them to book. And such procedures is for you to highlight and, point to specific instances and, do a petition to the authorities. And the panel that was set up by acting President Yemi Osinbajo, when he was on the saddle in the absence of Mr. President, was brought about due to the hues and cries from certain quarters. So the advocacy that warranted the setting of the panel should also be an advocacy that should warrant the, us calling for the outcome of the panel's report. That is what happens in this time. A lot of times, like we used to say, our people have what we call in our local parlance that now finishing we get, we know they get ending. When a crime occurs, all we know is that, a criminal has been arrested. How that procedure goes to a logical conclusion, we are less bothered. And that is what happens even with regards to our government activities. That look, when an issue has occurred, it is our responsibility to raise the bar with regards to the issue and follow it to a logical conclusion. Rather than going to our homes, a lot of times I've seen people say, how many headsmen have been arrested or how many Boko Haram criminals have been tried. A lot have been taken to court. Some are still in court as we speak. But what happens is that we only make the noise or we raise the issue when it is still hot. The moment where the issue has, calmed down a bit, we move to other things rather than ensuring that we see that matter to a logical conclusion. Look at the incident you have just mentioned in Abuja. The responsibility of the police in that case is to go to that community, investigate the matter, those that were abducted, talk to them, and in that process, they'll be able to track those criminals. In fact, that will even send a message to those criminals that, look, because you have done this, the government is out there on the searchlight for you. You're on the wanted list. So they won't have the rest of man to go and perpetrate this type of criminality in another environment. When an issue occurs and we only talk about it at the beginning, leave it in the middle, we don't know what comes out at the end, then this is what becomes our lot, where panels are set up and at the end of the day, we don't get to hear the reports of the panel. Like this program now, it's also an advocacy around it that, Mr. President, the report of the panel that investigated the atrocities committed by the military, if you want us to continuously have faith in the military, you need to build that trust in us. You need to build that faith in us by giving us this report. And, we see it that you have, carried out the outcome to a logical conclusion. That is the only way to guarantee that trust.
Right. Let's talk about more of the wins. The Nigerian army came out last week and talked about the fact that they have tackled banditry this month alone, that they have, they also mentioned the killing of what is his name again? Ghana. Tawaze Akwaza. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that head of militia in Benue State, correct?
Benue State.
And they highlighted his killing as one of the major wins. A lot of youth in that area are very dissatisfied with the killing, and they're saying that it might cause more problems than good. I'd like your take on that incident.
Well, you see, with regards to that incident, I feel very ashamed with the conduct of the military, because this was a criminal that has been on the run. And from reports, we've had conflicting reports that he was about to be granted amnesty by the state government, that it involved, the participation of even clergymen. But be that as it may, I want to ask, was the man who was killed, that Ghana, perpetrating this crime, and when he was on the run, did it transform into a ghost that the security apparatus could not track where he was or where he could have been, hibernating? So for them to be celebrating, his killing now, I don't think that is good enough. I think what we should be interested in is that what Ghana was doing it alone, or it was being sponsored by some interest. These are areas that the security apparatus should have investigated and brought him to justice judicially, rather than, for me, this was an extrajudicial killing. In as much as I believe that anybody that has committed a crime should pay the penalty, I don't believe extrajudicial killing that the military has done, because this was a criminal that has always perpetrated this crime. And the most horrifying aspect of it was that this was a state that some religious organization, as well as cultural groups from the southwest and the southeast, have turned security in that state into an ethnic and religious matter. They were using it to incite. I think the military should have used that, the arrest of Ghana, as a statement, rather than allow people with political undertone to continuously have the day with regards to different, interpretations to this criminal that has been killed. So for me, I'm not comfortable that the man was just killed when he was being arrested. I would have been very happy if the man had been arrested and, surrendered to the police, for the police to do a thorough prosecution and take it to a logical conclusion in the courts. But today, it has been, back and forth between the military authorities as well as some, concerned individuals, as well as the state government of Benue, who are complaining that this will jeopardize the peace in the state. And for me, I think the peace in the state, is under threat in regards to the extrajudicial killing of Ghana. I expected Ghana to have been, when he was being brought, he should have been arrested and then made to answer for his crime.
But would you say that the amnesty program was working in any ways whatsoever? Briefly, is it a good program? I mean, what would you say to that?
You see, amnesty is a good program because amnesty involves remission of sins. A lot of people have become victims of circumstances and criminality. And if amnesty is a measure, to curb criminality in any society, I don't think it's a bad idea. Because the responsibility of the government to the society, is to reform citizens who have gone the way outside the norms or values of any society. So if the government is coming up with an amnesty program that will reform the citizens, that will allow the state, the people to live in peace, I don't think it's a bad idea. But unfortunately, we live in a society today where we politicize everything. We politicize even the marriage between a man and a wife, where we ethnicize, we religionize every issue. We don't look at issues, from the dispassionate, from the objective perspective. We want to look at issue from, how will it further?
EKUJUMI, I'm so sorry to have to interrupt you there. We have run out of time for our segment. We want to thank you very much for your time and for your analysis on this very serious situation.